Hello, neighbors, and welcome to the Circle City Cast, a podcast written and produced by the Indianapolis Mayor's Office. I'm your host, Director of Community Outreach, Natalie Van Dongen, and every month I'll be giving you a behind-the-scenes look at your local government and connecting you to the resources we have here in Indy. But before we get into our first episode with Mayor Joe Hogsett, I want to quickly note that this conversation took place back in November of 2025, so you will hear some references to that time period in the following recording. Now, with that in mind, let's get into this month's episode. We are honored to have our very own Mayor Joe Hogsett with us today on the first episode of the Circle City Cast. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us, Mayor.
I'm happy to.
Now, since the City County Council has recently approved your administration's 2026 budget, I would love to talk about what programs and initiatives within the budget that you think should be highlighted. But before we get into that conversation, I thought our listeners should learn a little bit more about you and how you came to be the mayor of our city. So first and foremost, could you share a little about your career prior to running for mayor for the first time back in 2015?
Well, I have a long career, age-wise. Born and raised in Rushville, Indiana. I graduated from Rushville Consolidated High School. But after attending Indiana University and getting my law degree at IU, I have essentially made Indianapolis my home. And so my entire adult life has really been in the city of Indianapolis. So I've had the best of both worlds, truly. I was educated primarily at IU, started practicing law after my graduation from law school. I was fortunate enough to be asked by then Governor Evan Bayh to serve as Secretary of State, and which I was honored to do, and honored that he asked me. What I was doing, Natalie, was filling out the final 2 years of his 4-year term because he was elected governor while he was serving as Secretary of State. So I became Secretary of State by appointment and then ran for the office to be elected. And just ironically, my opponent in the Secretary of State's race that year was the 4-term mayor of the City of Indianapolis, Bill Hudnut. And that's where I got to know Mayor Hudnut very, very well. And I was fortunate enough to win that race, served as Secretary of State for 6 years. Subsequently, in and out of private practice, my partners would often ask me if I was going to engage in any more sabbaticals, which I've taken advantage of. So I'm primarily a lawyer by trade, but I have been a civic and public servant in a wide variety of different capacities. Most recently, before mayor, I served for 4 years in the Department of Justice as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Indiana. And I was very pleased and fortunate to be given that opportunity. Yeah. And then ran for election as mayor in the first term back in 2015. So to summarize, I've had the good fortune of being able to serve the public here in Indiana at the federal level, at the state level, and now at the local level. So it's been a great opportunity to get to see government at all in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of build off of that, how did those previous experiences inform not only your decision to run for mayor, but your idea of governance overall?
Yeah, I think that probably it can be said with great degree of certainty that the experiences prior to being mayor were good preparation for serving the people of the city of Indianapolis as mayor. I ran for election several times unsuccessfully. And I bring that up because I truly believe that I have probably learned more in defeat than I ever learned when I was successful. Now, that's not to say that I was trying to lose. I was doing everything I could do to win, and I have won several different races, including 3 races for mayor. But I must honestly say to all the listeners there that it's in those moments when you are unsuccessful that I think you really step back and take long looks at yourself in ways that victory really doesn't encourage you to do, because you're excited about having won. When you're unsuccessful, you start to, I think, look very closely at how you can improve. What's the old saying? If you fall off the horse, get right back up and dust yourself off and get back on. And that's kind of what the election process is all about. You reevaluate what you've done well and what you didn't do quite so well. And that's why I say I seem to have learned more when I have failed than I ever have when I have been successful.
And I guess along those lines, I wanted to ask how the role of mayor has changed for you over the course of your 3 terms. But I suppose that's also probably been informed by building some of those relationships with previous mayors as well.
Yeah, I think the being the mayor has changed significantly over time. But even within the confines of the time that I've served, it has, Bill Hudnut and I had a conversation early in my term. Mayor Hudnut was kind enough to call me frequently because he followed everything that was going on in Indianapolis. And we were good enough friends. He would call me and tell me what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, and I appreciated his perspective. He said to me once, though, and I think this goes to the heart of your question, because I had lamented to him, Mayor, I'd been in this job. It had been 6 months or something. Mm-hmm. It was very early in my tenure as mayor, and I was lamenting to the mayor, I've been in this job for 6 months. I don't know how you did this for 16 years. Yeah. And Mayor Hudnut said to me, Joe, as mayor of Indianapolis today, you have a more complicated challenge facing you than I did when I was mayor so many years ago. He said, just like some future mayor 20 years from now will have a much more complicated challenge that she or he will face, subsequent. And he's absolutely right. Over time, it has become a very challenging. As our city has grown, as our city has prospered, as our city has expanded, as our city that's gone through, a global pandemic and all the challenges that we faced, it really has become a 24/7, 365 job. And I don't complain about that, even though I tire of it sometimes. I don't complain about it because I love the work. I love the people. I love our city. I love the progress that our city has made and enjoyed. I love the fact that our city, in times of extraordinary difficulty, have come together and worked our way out of those challenging times. I mean, there's a lot to be proud of, but it's an overwhelming responsibility, and it's one that I take very seriously. That's how I would say the job of mayor has changed, not only as I look back on the challenges that previous mayors faced, but then compare those challenges to what I face as the mayor today.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you look back on those early days and think, wow, I didn't even know what was to come. I guess you wouldn't have been able to predict a global pandemic, that's for sure.
Well, and to tell you the truth, Natalie, I mean, from the outside looking in, the office of mayor is quite attractive. From the inside looking out, once you realize the enormous challenges that the mayor has to address, it can be overwhelming at times. But I've got a lot of good support, a lot of good friends, a lot of good staff. I'm proud of the people who work for the City of Indianapolis. And that makes my job a bit easier when I'm working with people like you and others on our staff in the mayor's office, as well as the entire enterprise. We have good, hardworking people every day coming to work in whatever capacity they serve, trying to make Indianapolis a better, peaceful, livable city that is growing and has a bright future ahead of it.
Well, I suppose on that note, I want to focus on our present moment and what has gotten us to where we are today. So 2025 has been a busy and exciting year for Indianapolis, as you well know. That much is evident in our downtown, where everywhere you look, there are cranes in the sky and buildings rising out of the ground. And even beyond our city center, of course, we are seeing our neighborhoods grow and thrive in so many ways. So what would you consider Indy's biggest accomplishment or successes of 2025 to be?
You mentioned that there are a lot of cranes. Several other people who have been in public life, and particularly those who lead cities and places like that, have often said you can judge a city's economic vibrancy and vitality by the number of cranes in the area.
Yeah.
And I think while that's just a observation, I think it has some truth to it. So let's just talk about some of the things that you indicated. I mean, all the development that's happening in our downtown, billions of dollars in the downtown economic development pipeline, which is really the culmination of many years' work and many years' planning for the city by previous administrations as well as my own. The signature projects that are top of mind to many of our listeners today, I'm sure include the expansion of the Indiana Convention Center, the creation of the adjoining Hilton Signia Hotel, which will be an 800-room addition to our tourism and convention industry downtown. We are expanding the convention center across the highway and into Pan Am Plaza. And I think that's an exciting development for our convention and tourism industry. In fact, I'm told that once the hotel is completed, Indianapolis will go from a point of tourism and convention success, from a point of being able to host 1.5 conventions at the same time, to a point where we will be able to host 2 major conventions at the same time.
Wow.
Which really puts us on footing with places like Las Vegas and Orlando, and frankly also New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, the big cities. But the tourism and destination cities, as well as the major cities, Indianapolis is catching up to be an absolute front runner in convention and tourism industry. The other projects include the One Health Innovation District, which is anchored by the new global headquarters for Elanco on our city's near west side. We're in the process of repurposing the old Circle Center Mall and creating Circle Center, which will in many ways be exciting for that area of the downtown. Residential, commercial, retail development, all without being an indoor mall. It will all be open air. There'll be entertainment. There'll be art and culture in and around the area. It's very exciting development, and it's being overseen by Hendricks Property Group out of Milwaukee, which has been responsible and has played a vital role in our developments at Bottle Works and Ironworks? Yeah, up on the north side. Those are Hendricks developments. So you can look at the success of those endeavors, and I think reasonably predict that Circle Center will be revitalize the entire center of our downtown. And then, of course, the IU Health Downtown Hospital, which has been called the largest construction project in the country. These projects are reshaping our skyline, and we're drawing national attention for it. LinkedIn recently ranked us on their list of top 25 cities on the rise. CNBC listed Indianapolis in their top 10 American cities for job opportunities and earning potential. And then Forbes ranked us number 9 on their list of 2025 list of best cities in which to live. So that is transformative. Yeah. Our public safety efforts have also played an important role in our recent successes. Countless folks in our city have been working tirelessly to make Indianapolis safer for all neighbors, for all visitors, for all people who come to enjoy Indianapolis. And frankly, while I'm talking about it, I want to highlight our gun violence reduction strategy has been enormously successful. We're now comparing this point in time to the same day in 2024, just a year ago. We've had nearly 25% reduction in criminal homicides and a 16% reduction in non-fatal shootings. Overall progress is even more encouraging. I mean, since we implemented our gun violence reduction strategy in 2022, we've seen roughly a 50% reduction in criminal homicides. And this work is extremely important for the people of our city. And as the mayor, it's extremely important to me. The new buildings in our downtown, frankly, mean much less if our neighbors don't feel safe in our city. And a sense of security and safety is absolutely paramount. And we're glad that 2025 has brought us more movement in the right direction. One last thing, Natalie, I know I'm probably going on too long as it relates to your question, but
No, this is all
one
really
thing I want to
interesting
call
stuff.
out is in our 2025 accomplishments is in the area of affordable housing and those neighbors who find themselves either temporarily or chronically homeless. Indianapolis is not alone in addressing those challenges, but I'm proud to remind listeners who may not have seen it that we recently broke ground on the Housing Hub, which is first ever publicly constructed homeless shelter. It's comprehensive, it's 24/7. So it will provide a place for people to sleep, but it also, during the day, will therefore provide wraparound services for a more long-term, sustainable solution. And also supporting our other city programs and initiatives that work in tandem with the Housing Hub and our continuum of care partners, creating a comprehensive system to meet all residents' needs. One example is our Streets to Home in the rapid rehousing program for chronically unsheltered neighbors. We announced this past summer. Phase 1 is already underway, with the goal of Phase 1 being to find permanent housing for 350 chronically unsheltered individuals. They don't go in at night. They are perhaps some of the most resilient people that you'll ever meet because they take the elements and have become accustomed to overcoming the elements in order to survive. We want to change that. So just like public safety, housing has been a huge priority of this administration for some time. Finally, Natalie, I'd say there is no question in my mind that every single Indianapolis resident deserves a safe and warm place to call home.
Absolutely.
And with the progress we've seen in 2025, we're getting closer to making that vision a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that is really highlighted from everything, you just told us about is on every level, we're working toward making Indianapolis a better place to live, work, and play. And I think a huge highlight of that is, we're talking about investment in downtown, but that's also activation of downtown for residents like you and I. We're talking about housing, something that obviously impacts every single resident living in Indianapolis. We're talking about jobs through construction of the IU campus and Alenco. So I think just across the board, there's so much here that residents can be incredibly proud of, in addition to being such a wonderful host city, as we've developed quite the reputation of being. So there is truly no doubt that 2025 has been a huge year for our city, and I can see why Indianapolis is making so many of these best lists across the country. So that brings me to 2026. How is the city planning to keep that momentum going, and what are you most excited for?
Well, we already talked about the downtown development that's going on right now. In 2026, a lot of these developments will begin to come to fruition.
Yeah.
We're in the construction stage right now, but by 2026, I hope that we'll be able to look back on that year as a year of incredible growth and expansion in our city. It's exciting to see how these new developments will continue to bring even more people to our city. And whenever I talk to visitors or speak to conventions who are coming to Indianapolis, I always say at the end of my remarks, I would be committing mayoral malpractice if, while you are visiting our city, I did not encourage you to spend lots of money. Which is, it's exciting to see the investment that we are making pay those types of dividends, where people want to come to Indianapolis and enjoy what our city has to offer. So in line with what I was talking about before, 2026 will also be a year that I will be eager to continue to lead the city's important work in public safety and housing, continuing our gun violence reduction plan. I want to enjoy 2026 as a year to continue improving upon our mental health response system, which will include the expansion of our clinician-led community response teams. And then obviously I've talked about the critical need for more affordable housing, $10 million dedicated to Streets to Home Indy in 2026, and affordable housing going up all over our city. We cannot prioritize adequate housing enough. It is one of our top priorities and something that I'm sure 2026 will see a great deal of progress made in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, along those lines, as the Director of Community Outreach, I want to expand a little on our investments as it pertains to neighborhoods specifically. You've already mentioned so many great initiatives and programs that I know will have a very positive impact on our neighborhoods, but how would you advise Indy residents to really take part in what the city is doing and get involved within their neighborhoods and their communities?
Well, Natalie, you're in a unique position to answer that question as well, if not better, than I can, because as our Director of Community Outreach, you oversee our team of 10 dedicated Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates. And that is a highlight of our city and community outreach. The MNA, or Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate team, is top notch. The MNAs are out in our community every day. I hope the listeners are aware of their presence from time to time. I hope they get to know their MNAs and connect with them, so the MNAs can help each and every one of our residents to get more connected with their neighborhoods and with the city as a whole.
Yeah, and for any residents that don't know how to contact their Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate, they can do so at indy.gov. Just type in Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate. But thank you for being so complimentary of that program. The Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates truly are a great group of people that are incredibly dedicated to serving the communities that they work within. So definitely love to give them their flowers whenever possible and encourage residents to reach out to them.
Well, you can also connect with the city on social media. Mm-hmm. We have so many exciting announcements and important updates going on, and they're promoted on our social accounts on a regular basis. So for those who are listening, I would encourage them to follow us, meaning the city, on Instagram and Facebook at the City of Indianapolis. You can also keep up with the latest in Indianapolis by tuning in to this podcast or our monthly news segment called the Tuesday 10. It airs on the first Tuesday of the month on Channel 16 or on YouTube. And again, it's just another way of using social media pages to learn more about what's going on in our city.
Absolutely. So, of course, I second all of that. I will say the Tuesday 10 is another great way to also get to know the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates, who are our guests on the program. So before we end our conversation today, I did want to talk a little bit about how you view our city. So first, what about Indianapolis inspires you?
Well, and the listeners have heard this many times, and I think are in agreement that Indianapolis does public-private partnerships better than any city in the country. Most of our progress and our success, certainly over the course of my lifetime, has been a result of public and private entities working together for a betterment for Indianapolis. Just last month, for example, city and philanthropic and corporate partners came together within a span of 48 hours. It's really phenomenal when you think about it, that within a 48-hour span, all of these public and private and philanthropic organizations came together to launch a fundraising campaign before we were faced with the impending nationwide pause on SNAP benefits, which is, I think, evidence of how we care about each other in Indianapolis. And that's one thing I'm most proud of. When our neighbors are in crisis, this city and its partners in private and philanthropic sectors always step up. And this time around, we made a huge impact. We've helped neighbors all over our city get access to food during this time of great challenge and uncertainty. Just last Saturday alone, I was out for 2 hours at a local church that was distributing some of the food that we have are making available to our residents. And that is something that I'm most proud of, is that Indianapolis knows how to come together even in difficult times and overcome the difficulties presented by those times.
Of course. Yeah, and that was an incredible event, and I'm excited to see that the city is hosting more of those food access events as we work through the month of November. Kind of talking about all of this has gotten me thinking about raising a family in Indianapolis and what is available in Indianapolis specifically to folks with maybe small kiddos or looking to do something new on the weekend. So what about Indianapolis makes it a great place to raise a family?
Our parks.
Of course.
The Indy Park system. It's great. One of only 3 park departments in the state, in Indianapolis, is one of only 3 in the entire state to be CAPRA accredited by the National Recreation and Park Association. We have a total of 218 parks in Indianapolis. We have 132 playgrounds across over 11,000 acres of green space. And all of them have something great to offer. Riverside Regional Park, for example, bigger than Central Park in New York. People don't appreciate that. Riverside Park here in the city of Indianapolis is bigger than Central Park in New York City. And Riverside has the space to play virtually every sport imaginable: basketball, tennis, golf, swimming, bike racing, soccer, rugby, pickleball, and so much more. Eagle Creek Park, nearly 4,000 acres of land and 1,400 acres of water. That is a true destination for nature lovers in Indianapolis.
Especially bird watchers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, from soup to nuts, Indianapolis has it all. It's in no small measure the result of recently investing $140 million in our park system. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, $80 million of that comes from the Lilly Endowment. And so we are so pleased to have the Lilly Endowment engaged to improve the quality of life and the quality of place in our neighborhoods by investing in our parks. And then the city added to the $80 million contributed by the Lilly Endowment, I think 35 to 40 million additional dollars the city invested as the result of our commitment to parks. So we've recently seen nearly $140 million invested. We've renovated nearly a third of our parks. We've replaced over 40% of our playgrounds. Most recently, on Friday of last week, I went up at the end of the day to celebrate a $6 million investment in the playground, largely, for Holiday Park on the north side of Indianapolis. So the city is making these kind of quality of life investments that can be truly transformative for families in Indianapolis. And if you don't believe me, and if you've got the time, drive out to Holiday Park and see how many kiddos are just going crazy over this $6 million playground investment that we've made in that park. Those types of investments are transformative for our families in Indianapolis.
Absolutely. So just one more question for you, sir, and that is there a piece of Indy's history that you think more people should know about?
Well, I'm going to give you the predictable answer, and that is not that people don't know about it, but in fact, it's what Indianapolis used to be only known for, and that is the Indianapolis 500
of course.
mile race, the Speedway, the Memorial Day race at the Speedway, which when I was growing up, if people knew nothing about Indianapolis, they knew about the Indianapolis 500. And so I'm proud. As I said, your question was, what is it about Indianapolis that people need to know about? Well, I think the Indianapolis 500 is emblematic of an institution of over 100 years that yet still grows and is growing strong. I mean, think about this. On one day in the city of Indianapolis, it's the largest single-day sporting event in the world. And in one day, every year, out at the Indianapolis Speedway, nearly 325 to 350,000 people come to see that race in a 2.5 mile oval. Mm-hmm. It's on that day, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the second largest city in the state of Indiana. And so, people know about it, but it's one of the aspects of Indianapolis's growth into the cosmopolitan and international community that it has become. And I hope to continue to lead our city in furtherance of that type of progress.
Yeah, well, as a huge IndyCar fan myself, and one of those attendees Memorial Day weekend, I definitely appreciate that answer. Think it's a good one. So thank you so much, sir. This has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Well, I want to thank all of the folks who have been involved in putting our podcast together. I know there's going to be a lot more people that will come along and be interviewed and give different perspectives of our city. But one thing that this podcast, everything that you're doing in the area of community outreach, empowers people to know more about what is going on in their neighborhood, on their side of town, and in our city as a whole. And with information comes, engagement, and dare I say, power. The more people are aware of what they have to take advantage of in our city, empowers them to broaden their horizons, to create the type of culture that they find welcoming and comforting. It's a wonderful place to build a life and a family. A lot of exciting things going on in Indianapolis, and I'm proud to be with you, and I'm proud that this podcast will help people better understand the many different exciting things that are going on in the city.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, sir. This has been really great. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this installment of the Circle City Cast. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, this conversation was recorded in November of 2025, and some of the information mentioned here has changed. To find more updated statistics, check out visitindy.com as it relates to tourism, and IMPD socials as it relates to public safety. You can find them at IMPD News on Instagram, Facebook, and X. And of course, don't forget to follow the City of Indianapolis on all platforms as well. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to join us next month. Until then, this is your host, Natalie Van Dongen, signing off. Have a great day, Indy.